How many Goblin Queens does it take to screw in a light bulb? The answer may shock you. Keep watching to find out today on The Newest Mutants. Hi, I'm Laz, your favorite mutant from an alternate timeline, and we continue our Fall of X coverage with Dark X-Men #1. As always, don't forget to stick around until the end of the show where I will show off a prior comic from my collection. Let's get started. First, let's check out the cover of this book. This is an awesome cover. It evokes timeless classics. By the way, I own the copy. I'm not a poser. But it invokes timeless classics with the full squad of X-Men. The cover art here was done by Steven Segovia and Frank Martin. Now let's get to the creators of this book. Before I do, there are two separate stories in this book. The first is titled There is a Kingdom, and the second is called Do You Love Me? They have two different pencil artists, which I will mention in a moment. Firstly, the writer for both stories is Steve Fox. Our artist for There is a Kingdom is Jonas Scharf, and our artist for Do You Love Me is Nelson Daniel. Our color artist for both stories is Frank Martin, and our letterer for both is Clayton Cowles. And of course, as always, our larger-than-life editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics, it's C.B. Cebulski. Now, let's begin, shall we? Our story begins with Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, in a dream. She's wandering around the, quote, crooked pathways of Limbo, her infernal realm of power. As she does so, she encounters the Grim Reaper, Death. And when she does, the name Madeline, Maddie, is cried. Wake up! Madeline awakes, and it was the voice of Havoc, aka Alex Summers, who had awakened her. Madeline and Alex are living inside the Limbo Embassy, which is in the middle of New York City. It looks like a giant haunted mansion. It's pretty cool and creepy and perfect for Halloween. The two of them converse about the anti-mutant protesters outside. Havoc is at least a little impressed by the creative signs. Meanwhile, Madeline is like, yeah, Alex, let's give credit to the bigots for their inventiveness. As Madeline and Alex walk and talk, the panels showcase the varied and diverse groups of beings and mutants that have taken sanctuary within the Limbo Embassy. As they continue, Madeline remarks that she wasn't alive when Xavier's parasitic twin destroyed Genosha, but she was told it was very traumatic for telepaths because they sensed so many lives being snuffed out. Madeline claims she only heard the psychic death screams of Jean Grey, and she does not believe that all the mutants had been wiped out. Of course, if you've been watching my other videos, you would know this is true. It's at this point Alex and Madeline walk through a portal, and we find a demon Cerebro. Madeline places it upon her head. Cut to Queens, New York, at a residential home. A father opens the door and welcomes in Benny and says, "Go on in. Buddy has been expecting you." Benny and Buddy go downstairs, and we find out that Benny is actually a mutant named Carmen who is disguised as Benny. And the father sees the change happen. It's at this point he calls Orchis to report a mutant. An Orchis task force shows up to arrest Carmen, and Buddy asks their dad, "How could you report their friend? You've known Carmen for years." Dad just says, "Hey, I want to keep my family safe," and that's why he narked. Now in the back of an Orchis van, shackled, Carmen is being taken to an Orchis re-education camp, when suddenly the back doors of this vehicle are torn off by our good friend, the Archangel, also known as Warren Worthington the Third, my dear. And who could it be there to rescue her but some X-Men, including Gambit and Maggot. These three X-Men quickly take care of the Orchis guards in the vehicle when they are suddenly attacked by another Orchis guard with adamantium claws. The unknown mutant with the claws then stabs Archangel through the stomach. That's when Orchis air support arrives. The three X-Men and Carmen seem like they are out of luck, But guess who also has reinforcements? Yes, more X-Men arrive, but this time it's Madeline Pryor, Havoc, Azazel, Zero, and M-Plate. Okay, I've been wondering for a minute who Zero is, and let's learn a bit about this mutant. First appearing in Generation Hope #1 from 2010, Zero, also known as Kenji Uedo, is an artist from Tokyo. At least he was until his powers manifested, though I suppose he still is an artist. Zero's abilities include body sculpting, which is fitting for an artist. He can sculpt his body into whatever he needs and can grow or shrink it to whatever degree he needs. Additionally, Zero can plug into other mutants and control their powers. A very strange looking character, but potentially extremely powerful. He also has a healing factor that is on par with Wolverine or Deadpool's, maybe better. So back at the scene of the confrontation, combat ensues and the X-Men that just arrived are vicious in their execution, so much so that this angers Havoc a bit because he feels that the killing is a little unnecessary, which he utters out loud many times during this comic. Of course, at that moment, the cybernetic or robotic version of Wolverine then stabs Havoc through the neck. This really makes Madeline Pryor upset, and she unleashes her full powers upon the other Orchis guards. Madeline then requests a teleportation away from the scene from Azazel. Zero collects the Wolverine robot, also called Albert. But while being teleported away, they leave Archangel. I know, crazy. The next time we see Archangel, he is being carted away to a secret facility. Inside this secret Orchis facility, there are two mysterious members of Orchis, maybe scientists, and one of them makes a comment that their guest might have her eye on this one. And as we turn the page, we get to see a demonic-looking woman with cloven hooves and horns who claims to be the one true Goblin Queen. And that's the end of our first story. Our second story is a little shorter, but it's really about what life was like the week after the founding of the Limbo Embassy. We see what happens Monday through Sunday, mostly through the perspective of Havoc. And it's mostly just a bunch of outcasts and mutants looking for sanctuary. Havoc has the job of admitting these folks. The list of characters include Azazel, who has been banished from his own hell realm by Nightcrawler, and M-Plate, a vampire. We have Zero, Fatal. The Fenris twins try to get sanctuary, but they're rejected, thank goodness. Mastermind and Lady Mastermind. Infectia, Fantasia, Solar, Animax, Todd from Secaucus. Havoc gave him his therapist number instead, and the Kangaroo. Meanwhile, Madeline admits Ben Reilly, now known as Chasm, to the embassy as well. On Friday night, though, we have Cyclops and Jean Grey visiting for dinner with Havoc. That's nice. Saturday, Havoc gets to spend a little one-on-one time with Madeline in the hot tub. She suggests that they do something romantic. So on Sunday, they fight some demons. This short ends with a line saying, Alex Summers is a man in search of purpose, and God help him, Madeline Pryor knows it. Well, it is called Dark X-Men. Welcome to the part of the episode where I thank you, though, for sticking around, and I answer the question that we posed at the beginning of the show. And the answer is Havoc. That's how many Goblin Queens it takes to change a light bulb. Havoc. So there you go. Coming up, though, our takeaways, favorite panels. But first, if you haven't already done so, please hit that like or subscribe button. And if you got something to say, I am no Professor X. You'll have to leave a comment. And now, back to the show. It's time for my takeaways on this issue. This is truly a group of misfits assembled by the Goblin Queen and Havoc. One of the things that I suspect from this run is that we will see Havoc slip into more of a gray morality. On multiple occasions in this issue, Alex Summers asks members of the Dark X-Men to avoid unnecessary killing. But with the last line in the second story, it seems like the Goblin Queen wants to mold Alex into the Goblin Prince. I find this to be an intriguing plot thread. On the flip side, Alex could very easily be a mitigating force to Madeline and perhaps stop her from killing so much. I wonder which way it will go. Another thing I really like about this book is how the Dark X-Men mirror classic squads. If you look at the cover, there's some very clear analogs. Madeline equals Jean, Havoc equals Cyclops, Azazel equals Nightcrawler, Archangel is of course the darker form of himself, Angel. Zero has an ability that reminds me of Iceman in a weird way, and M-Plate is quite a beast, if you will. Additionally, we have this cybernetic Wolverine known as Albert, as well as Gambit, who is, well, just Gambit. I really like this squad. It has a lot of potential. And now let's look at my favorite art from this book, starting with my third favorite panel, and it's the Orcus reinforcements with Cyber Wolverine, aka Albert, leading the charge. This is a cool image with Albert standing over a recently shanked Archangel. I love the Stark Sentinel floating up in the background, as well as the colors and the lighting. It's a real daunting challenge for our Dark X-Men. My second favorite panel belongs to this 2-page panel right here, showcasing the interior of the Limbo embassy, along with the various misfit mutants that are hiding away. It's really cool. Sadly, no cameo of Todd from Secaucus. And my number one piece of art in this book belongs to the big reveal of the real Goblin Queen. It's an awesome full-page panel. She looks real nasty. Even looks like she killed a member of the Brood. If you look down on the ground, the horns, the eyes, the cloven hooves. What hell is she from? And that's a wrap. But before we go, let's check out a book from my collection. As foreshadowed earlier, it is Uncanny X-Men number 168. It is the first appearance of Madeline Pryor, better known as the Professor Xavier is a Jerk issue. This book was released in January of 1983, written by the GOAT Chris Claremont and art by Paul Smith, who also did this fabulously dramatic cover of our girl Kitty Pryde. Next time on The Newest Mutants, however, we're going to talk about Ms. Marvel number 1. Until then, my mutants, Excelsior.